watch collection. There is, however,
Everyone can do that. But how about building a 3-watch collection for $100? Now that's a challenge. Now, to build such a collection, you have to severely shift your beliefs when it comes to values, money, or quality. For some, $100 is a decent amount for a leather strap, but for some, it's an important amount of money. And as challenge, I always wondered if I can find those minimum viable watches that can bring joy on the wrist. However, as watch enthusiasts, I'd like to think that we have quite high standards in terms of quality or craftsmanship, just because we've built personal preferences in time. With this challenge, it's not necessarily about finding the best 3 deals within $100, but more about prospection and the justification to buy a watch in the favor of another one. So I went to the mall and bought these watches for my own money, and sadly I couldn't film many footage inside of these stores because I'm on a delicate relationship with this group of brands, where we were supposed to collaborate, but sadly in their view I'm not sufficiently relevant for their brand, so I will not receive watches for reviews from their stores. Just to give you an idea of how important it is to have subscribers on the channel. And for 2023, the potential novelties reviewed on the channel will be supported once again by my own salary. But what is actually important? I bought these 3 cool pieces, 3 watches which are made for different purposes. A chronograph, a vintage inspired everyday watch, followed by a shock resistant piece. And as a selection criteria, I was looking for 3 watches with personality, but to serve for different purposes, chasing quality, reliability and design without exceeding the $100 price. But once again, imagine that these 3 models costs less than a Pagani design watch. And I have to tell you that it's super difficult to find 3 pieces which should be valued at $30 or $40 each, but still to be reliable, correct, good looking and fun to wear. So I recommend this exercise to you, and I want to see what's your 3 watch collection proposals valued at $100. Please post them in the comments section. And now let's look at the first selection at the Lorus Sports Chronograph. What? Yes, Lorus. This is actually an old entry-level watch brand which is part of the Seiko group, which sits somewhere at the border between normal timekeepers and fashion watches. And in our case, this was the perfect compromise between function, design and price. Imagine that I bought a vintage-inspired chronograph on a bracelet for $50. So the variety wasn't that big to choose from, but still, I did love the tonneau shape and the vintage appeal of it. I think the tan patina subdials and the way they blend with the dial, it's super cool. But also the 6 o'clock subdial, which looks like a fueled gauge of an American classic car. So the design, it's there. And I think this watch offers quite a lot of balance on the dial, firstly ensured by the black and the tan rhythm, and then by the metallic elements which surrounds the patina markers, the hands, but the subdials as well. So a lot of harmony on this dial. But also from the quality perspective, knowing the price point, I wanted an analog watch with brushed and polished facets, and this watch meets the criteria. Now, what is strange about this watch is the chronograph function, and it's not the center one as it should, but on the 6 o'clock subdial, where in this case the positioning of the small start-stop function cannot relate to the tachymeter graduation from the outer bezel. So useless, but at least the start-stop function works. And then as size, this watch measures 44mm in diameter with 51mm as lug to lug, 11mm in height and 22mm between the lugs. Weighs around 100 grams and it is powered by the VD53 quartz module with a 6 o'clock subdial, start-stop complication and a date wheel. Plus 100 meters wall resistance, so a watch with a bit of presence on the wrist, but when I put it next to my Monaco which measures 39 by 39mm, the difference is not that big. For the second model, I opted for a vintage-inspired watch, a true classic of the 80s, the Casio Vintage Iconic A168 VAC, which I bought it for $20 as brand new. And I always liked the appeal of this vintage Casio, because it reminds me of my childhood. And today this series, the Casio Vintage Iconic, became a trending watch for millennials and hipsters. And this is kind of the purpose of this purchase. It brings that hype of the 80s, but also a contradiction through the camouflage, which can be worn as an everyday watch after all. And this iconic Casio measures 36.5 by 38.6mm with a height of 9.5mm, so a discreet appearance on the wrist because of the size, but the weight helps as well because this one has only 50 grams. And this model 3298 Quartz offers an alarm, a stop time feature, regular time zone and a cool ice blue backlight. Not a lot of features, but still way more than a regular watch. The bracelet is really nice and comfortable as well, with a dramatic taper which ends at 12mm and its appearance having a less masculine identity, which is similar to the Explorer 1, but in this case both of them are unisex watches. In total, we spent so far $70 on mainly two vintage-inspired watches, $50 on the analog chronograph on a bracelet, and $20 on the Casio vintage model. Now, as for the third model, I was looking for a budget diver, but knowing the complex functionality of the bezel plus the higher waterproofness, for $30 or $40 it's kind of impossible to find a true diver. I mean, I found a nice 38mm Loras with an orange dial with lume and a lume pip, but the bezel was non-functional, it was part of the case, so I was pretty disappointed by that diver. And then I turned my attention towards the Casio AE1000W world timer, which I bought for $30. And as profile, this budget Casio exceeded all my expectations, and I find it better as design and legibility than the iconic AE1200 world timer. And it feels like these two share the same module but mirrored in functions. Now the world map is on the left hand side. This AE1000W model, besides being filled with features, has a resin case made in two-tone with decorations that makes it more robust and reliable for adventurers even underwater activities, where the AE1200 feels more like a city watch. And I love, besides the clarity of the dial, the weight of only 40 grams. But also the finishing of the horizontal pattern placed on the dial, which changes its appearance once it's angled. And besides that, the case is made towards the ends in a way to facilitate the strap joints to have a bigger tolerance than a G-Shock Square, so it increases the ability to hug smaller wrists better. And as I mentioned, this model is full of features, sharing the same ones as the AE1200, offering 5 alarms, a backlight, can record up to 5 different cities, and has a world timer feature being able to track 31 time zones. Has also a calendar, a countdown and a stopwatch, has 100 meters water resistance and offers 10 years battery life. So these are my 3 watch collection picks. It's mind-blowing when you think that you can build a watch collection for the price of an AliExpress watch. It is challenging but satisfying in the same time. And since holidays are coming up, I will donate these watches to some people that can't even afford to spend $30 or $50 on a watch. And in the end, I'm super curious to see your 3 watch collection proposals valued at $100. Please let me know in the comments below. So that was it guys, hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're new here, please consider subscribing for future episodes. Thank you very much, thanks for watching, and until next time, be brave but stay safe.